All right, welcome everyone to the first optional Zoom meeting. Thank you for coming. As long as you guys keep showing up to this, I will keep holding these. Hopefully you find them helpful. Generally, what I will do is I'll go through whatever kind of important content that we need to cover for that week to help you guys answer questions, get a better understanding of what we're doing and things like that. So today's goal will be to kind of go over some of the important tabs in our course menu on Blackboard, just so you know where things are and know how to access them. Then we'll go over a couple important points that I want you to be aware of on our syllabus, and then we will go over the Unit 1 essay. Okay, any questions before we get started? Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with Blackboard. I'm going to go ahead and screen share with you. So when you log on to Blackboard, you should see something similar to this, right? First thing you'll see is the announcements. If you read the syllabus, you know that I send out a bi-weekly announcement, so twice a week, and that usually covers one of the weeks, right? I've separated one summer course week into what would normally be 2 weeks of a normal semester. So you'll see 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, right? 1A covers Monday through Wednesday, 1B covers Friday through Sunday. Okay, so when you see these announcements, I highly recommend going through them. I tell you what is due and give you kind of a general overview of what you should expect or what I'm expecting you to do for those things. And sometimes I'll just point you to the folders to find further directions, so you can see that there. Obviously, if you're in this meeting, you saw this announcement here. For our times. If you haven't voted on those, please do so. Right now, it's looking like our meetings are going to be held at 7. That's what seems to be the most common times, but that could also change with more votes. Okay, so if you see something here, again, please pay attention to it. I only post here when it's important information that I feel like you need to know. Okay, faculty information, right? Boring bio stuff about me, but this is where you can find a link to my email, right? So if you ever have a question for me, just come here. It's a direct contact to me, and it ensures that you're using the proper email and things like that to send me an email. Okay, and some really important information here, the tutor and learning support information. We are so fortunate to have 2 embedded tutors in our class. Hey, Ellie and Harrison, I'll let them introduce themselves in a minute. But something to pay attention to is that if you read the syllabus and you took the syllabus quiz, you know that you are required to work with a tutor for each essay, okay, at least once per essay. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to work with a tutor with. There are so many things that you can do here, okay? They actually even outline some of those points for you, right? Anytime during the writing process, you can work with them. It can be brainstorming, trying to think of ideas. It could then be them helping you organize your paper and kind of get your ideas structured in a way that makes sense. It can be about clarifying ideas. It could be to look over rough drafts. There's so many different reasons and ways that you can work with a tutor. So start thinking about how you would like to utilize the tutors in our class. And you have other options as well, but I always recommend using our tutors first, just because they're more familiar with my assignments than the other tutors. But the other tutors still can be helpful, but aim for ours first. Harrison, do you want to start? Do you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Sure. My name's Harrison. I'm studying English literature, so I'm particularly interested in literature, but I can help you with any writing stuff. And as the professor said, we can sort of help anywhere along the writing process. So even if you just need help with like brainstorming, or if you just have a question, or if you want help with like MLA formatting, basically anything you need. And even if we don't have even if we're not able to help you directly with some sort of question, we can always redirect you to a librarian or help you find some sort of resource. So even if you're not sure if we can help you, it's always good to just pop in and ask us a question, and we'd be happy to. If we can't help you, we can certainly find someone who can. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Harrison. Ellie, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi guys, I'm Ellie. I'm also an embedded tutor, and I'm really excited to help you guys in this course. If you go to our page on Blackboard that Professor Hutton has lovingly put up for us, that writing tutor Q&A, I did my absolute best to try to cover any and all questions that you guys may have about what just goes on during a tutoring session. And so yeah, we can help you with anything that you guys are working on, whether it's a question, whether it's you're working on a second draft and you're like, I really have no idea where this is going and I feel really flustered. And so sometimes it's really nice to have a second pair of eyes and ears, another mind, another heart, just to be with you in that moment. Yeah, so again, we're here to help you directly with this course, Harrison and I, and there are also those other tutoring options where you can go to the Writing Center if we're not available. You can also submit your paper to the Writing Center email. You can get help with the 24/7 e-tutoring submissions. Again, those other options are not going to be, they're not going to be as direct as Harrison and me, but they are also really great services that will give you guys the same kind of help. So yeah, really excited to be here. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you, Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
Also, direct link right here to make an appointment with them. Easy peasy. All you have to do is to click it, and it'll give you the options, times and days that they are available. And you don't have to wait until you're ready to make these appointments. If you know, like, oh, I think I want them to look at my rough draft. Okay, I can look at my schedule. I know that the rough draft is due on June 18th. Let me schedule it for the 18th because I know that I'll have my rough draft done then. Right, so you can schedule ahead as well. I mean, you could schedule out for the whole entire summer if you really wanted to. Okay, so don't be afraid of making your appointments early on.
Yes,
Okay?
actually,
The earlier, the better.
Yeah, totally. One more thing. I actually have an appointment with one of the students already tomorrow to have a conversation about what is going to be your proposal kind of question. So
Awesome.
very excited for that. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay, does anyone have any questions about tutor interaction, assignment, or anything like that? Working with the tutors? No? Okay, there's one last resource I want you to pay attention to, and that is the librarians. We are going to be doing a ton of research in this class, and especially within our first two essays. And librarians are experts at research, right? They are the perfect person to go to help you find sources. Okay, so if you are struggling finding credible sources for your iSearch paper, which we're going to go over in a little bit, I highly recommend going here. They have chats, you can set up appointments, you can phone in. There are a lot of different ways that you can interact with them to help you get the sources that you need. Okay, so really, really, really recommend the librarians as well. Okay, use the sources that are available to you. They can only help. Okay. All right, so we have, again, this really important tab. Go there. I hope you guys are using this tab often. Another one I hope you guys utilize is the office hours. I'm holding office hours every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 3. Ellie's office hours here are from Tuesday 4 to 5:30 and Thursday 9 to noon. And Harrison has office hours from Monday 9 to 10:30 and Wednesday 4 to 7. All you have to do is jump on, click this link, and it'll open up during those times, and it'll open up and you'll be able to see us and interact with us. You can just pop in, ask questions. If the tutors are on there, you can utilize that as your tutor interaction time. Maybe you want to brainstorm ideas with them during that time or ask them questions about MLA, help them format your paper or something like that. Those are the perfect times to do those things with them. Okay, not a good time to look at your rough draft during office hours. Okay, that takes way too much time. Those are things you need to schedule appointments for. But anything that, it's just technicalities and things like that, I recommend going to office hours to pop in on those to get information. Okay. Most of you already know about weekly folders because we've already started submitting assignments, right? They are pretty straightforward. Hopefully you have all read these documents, because these, if you go through them, you should have a very good idea of what the Unit 1 paper is about. If you have not gone through these documents, you need to. Okay, but other than that, again, we are broken up into, our weeks are broken up into 2 different sections. Every single week is like that. Our due dates are always going to be the same, and each of these folders is going to be formatted the same. You're always going to see our schedule at the top, and then you're going to see our readings and assignments in order. Okay, and then a preview of what the next week looks like. Okay, so that should be pretty easy to navigate. The last little section I want to kind of point out over here is this is all extra resources for you, and basically resources that I hope you use. The first one, I think everyone should be going into this one, the essay information. Our essays this semester build off of one another, or at least have the potential to build off of one another, right? For example, Unit 1, you are going to be exploring a topic, right? I know some people were already kind of presenting argumentative topic to me. This is not an argumentative paper. It is an exploratory paper. You are learning about your topic right now. We're researching and learning. Okay, and hopefully during that research and learning, you are uncovering a problem that you would like to address in your Unit 2 essay, because our Unit 2 essay is going to be a problem solution paper. So you are going to prove that a problem exists and then find a solution that works. And both of those you're going to back up with evidence. So again, if you already know about a problem and you want to explore that problem in Unit 1, that's a perfect opportunity to learn about your problem and do the research for your problem now. And you can incorporate that research into your Unit 2 essay as well. Okay, so that's how it can build off of each other. And then your Unit 3 essay, you are going to turn that problem solution essay, and instead of presenting your problem with written word, you are going to create posters and make an argument through visuals. So you're going to regenre your argument. Okay, so I have student examples here so you can see how one student has progressed from one paper to the next, and how they're all connected to each other. Okay, so I highly recommend looking at this to give you a good idea of how you can set up your papers this semester. Okay, because again, if you do the research now in Unit 1, you're going to save yourself a lot of time in Unit 2. Okay. I also have all of the important information for each unit here as well, so that you can look ahead if you want to see what these next papers are going to look like. Okay. These other ones here, you already kind of went through all of this MLA info or maybe are going to go through this MLA info for the quiz tonight, but here it's just broken down. That way you can revisit any MLA information that you need to. All of this information is provided by the Writing Center, so it's good information. Okay, same thing with the reading and writing tips. Any little thing that you're struggling with, there's probably a handout for it. You can kind of look here to see if any of these can answer your questions or help you with whatever you're working on. And then same here with grammar lessons, right? These tend to be the most common things that I see in writing. And it's, again, useful tips and tools on how to recognize these errors and how to fix them. Okay, so these are all informational resources to help you throughout the writing process as well. Okay, any questions about Blackboard? All right. Okay, so a couple of things that I want to touch on. We're going to talk about the syllabus really quickly. I want to talk about some key points that maybe sometimes students get confused on or don't quite understand or maybe skip over sometimes. And the first is that for each paper, we are going to be going through the writing process, right? And throughout that writing process, you are going to have a lot of eyes on your work. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of peer review and feedback given throughout your writing for this paper. For example, on Friday, you have your inquiry questions due. That is part 1 and part 2 of your Unit 1 essay. You're going to turn that in. Your peers are going to give you feedback on it, right, based off of questions that I've asked that help meet the criteria for those 2 parts. And then I will also give you feedback. I'm not giving you feedback in peer grade. I'm giving you feedback on your check-ins. So if you want feedback from me, you must complete those check-ins. Okay, so it's going to be looked at by at least 3 people. Right? Again, the more eyes that are on your paper, the better, right? Because something that one of your classmates points out, I might not have noticed that the first time around, right? So we each come with our own ideas, our own perspectives. So again, the more ideas that can be thrown around, the better. Okay, so you will be very familiar with feedback by the end of this semester. Don't take it the wrong way. There are videos. I posted a video the other day that talks about giving effective feedback, right? There's a pretty solid line between like what is good feedback and what is like inappropriate or not effective feedback. So make sure that you are reviewing those videos to make sure that you are giving the best feedback that you possibly can, because you will be graded on the feedback that you give as well. Okay. Speaking of grading, when you turn in your finished draft of your essay, okay, that is where I will give extensive feedback on your papers. Okay, every time we do check-ins, I usually just give general feedback like, hey, this is something that I'm noticing that you should probably work on before you turn in your finished draft. But when you turn in your finished draft, that's when I will go through your paper and write comments all throughout your paper, pointing out areas that could potentially be improved on. Okay, once you do that, and I give that feedback back to you, you will have the opportunity to revise again to get a higher grade if you would like one. Okay, so don't think that turning in this finished draft on the 23rd that's it, right? That's not how writing works, right? We're continuously revising, changing, making things better. And in fact, for your final portfolio, you will have to revise Unit 1 and Unit 2. So you might as well get it out of the way and just revise when I give it back to you. Okay, that's my advice. That way, that saves time later. Okay, so know that you will have the opportunity to revise again once I give feedback. Okay. Any questions with the syllabus or anything that I just talked about? All right, let's go ahead and get into our Unit 1 prompt. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you again so we can go over this. So let's go back. I'm just going to go into the essay info and get it from there, but you can also get this in the Unit 1 folder. Okay. That is not the right thing. That's the schedule. Okay, make this a little bit bigger. Okay, again, for this paper, this is an exploratory paper. It is not a traditional research paper where you simply just do some research and regurgitate what you learned. Okay, that's not what this is. Instead, you are telling the story of your research process, right? We have a couple of goals with this paper. One, we are learning how to conduct good research, right? By finding credible sources. Okay, and 2, we are learning as much as we possibly can about the topic that we've chosen. Okay, right, so we're conducting good research about the topic that we're learning. Those are 2 of the major goals with this paper. Okay, so you're going to be telling us the story of that research process. Okay, I kind of already talked about this, but choosing a topic, I highly recommend choosing a topic that you could potentially use for your Unit 2 essay, just again, save yourself some time. But you really have a lot of freedom for your topic choice here. It should be potentially related to your field of interest or something else that is close to your heart that you would really like to research, but just make sure that you're really interested in it because you're going to be working with it throughout the summer. Okay, so you want to have some sort of investment with it. But our brainstorm that is due tonight should take you through some potential ideas, right? When you go through that, it'll give you some good ideas of what you could potentially work on and how to narrow or broaden your topic. When you turn in your topic, I will tell you if it's too broad or too narrow and give you some ideas on how to either broaden the scope or narrow it to help better fit the criteria of the assignment. So make sure you are reading the comments from me in my grades with your topic proposal. Okay, this is going to be broken down into 4 separate sections. Okay. Part 1 is what I already know. In this section, you are going to be doing 2 things. First, you are going to tell us how you became interested in this topic. So, you know, what specific moment in your life or specific experience did you have that got you interested in this topic? You know, why did you choose this one? Okay. And based off of how, or I'll talk about that later, actually, I don't want to confuse you. And 2, you want to talk about what you already know about the topic before you've conducted any of your research for this paper. Okay, so what do you currently know about the topic? And this can just be a quick summary. In general, I would think this would be like maybe a page of writing. Some people just do it in a couple of paragraphs, maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs on the story behind how you became interested in, like a paragraph that summarizes your current knowledge. Okay, so those 2 things need to happen in part 1. Okay. In part 2, this is where you're going to be presenting your research questions. And again, you're going to have to do 2 things. 1, you are going to present your overall research topic, and then you are also going to present sub-questions that will help you dive deeper into your topic. So there's an example here, right? So maybe my research question is, how does online learning impact student success? I then need to ask more questions about this to narrow my focus of my research so that I make sure that I'm getting my answers or my questions answered. So I could ask questions like, what are the success rates of students enrolled in online courses? Do online student success rates differ depending on the type of school? How do they compare to other modalities? What qualities must students have in order to be successful in online class? Right, so you can see that those are all connected to the original topic. They just help narrow my focus so I know what specifically I'm looking for to help answer this question. Okay, so you're going to present those first probably, and then you need to tell us why you want or need answers to those questions. So in my case, I want or need answers to these questions because I'm teaching an online class and I would like to know how to make my students more successful. Right? That's why I want to know, what can I do to make the online learning experience better for my students, right? That's my reasoning why I need these questions answered. And so you're going to do those 2 things here. Generally, this section is like, again, 1 or 2 paragraphs. It's not a lot it's not a big part of your paper. Okay, it is big because it's presenting the questions, but it doesn't take up as much space in your paper. Where you're going to be spending the most time is in part 3. In part 3, you are going to need to find 4 sources, okay, and one of those needs to be an interview. Okay, 4 sources that you will be using to help answer those questions from part 2. Okay, when you are going through these sources, I recommend trying to find different types of sources, right? You are for sure going to need an interview, but you should try using a journal article, maybe a book, maybe a magazine article, right? Try to vary your sources. I'm not going to mark you down if they're not varied, but you should be trying to, just to see what kind of different information you can get from different places. Okay, but you need at least 4 sources, 1 being an interview. Okay. For each source, you are going to tell us the story behind that source. Okay, so you will tell us how you found the source, how you determined whether it was credible or not, right? Because remember, we need to be finding credible sources. You will summarize any key information that you found for that source that helps answer your questions, right? So we don't need all of the information from that source. We only need the information that is important to answering your questions. Okay, and then I want you to react to what you found from your source, right? What did you think about that information? Okay, was it surprising? Did it pique your interest to take your research in another direction, right? What did this information do to you, right? How did it make you feel? Okay, so again, each source will need to do this, and usually this can be a paragraph to a couple of paragraphs per source. Okay, if you are taking us through all of these things. Okay. And if you're telling us a story, usually you'll tell us how one source led to the next source. Okay, so do these one source at a time. Okay. Again, this will be written as a story, so you're going to be using a lot of first person. Feel free to be somewhat casual or natural language, right? We talked about that, not using English, right? Tell us the story just like you would speak the story to us. That's how you should be writing the story to us as well. Okay. And then in part 4, this is kind of a reflection section where you are going to reflect on the entire research process. You'll probably write a quick summary just about the key information that you learned. You might also include any questions maybe that didn't get answered, because sometimes that happens in research. Sometimes we can't always find the answers that we're looking for. So, what questions did you not get answered, or what new questions do you have because of the research and how it's not necessarily complete? And then the final part, and I want you to pay special attention to this because a lot of students end up leaving this part off, is how did you perform as a researcher? How do you feel like you did? Did you do a good job finding these sources, finding credible sources? Was this a time-consuming experience? Was it easy to find these sources? Was it difficult? Tell us how you performed as a researcher. Okay, kind of rate yourself, like how well did you do? And give us reasoning behind that. Okay, and then your last section will be a works cited in MLA format, where you will list out all the sources that you worked on. Technical requirements, we'll be using MLA format. The minimum page length is 5 to 6 full pages. Guaranteed, all of you will go over that. I've never had a problem with students meeting this page length. Most of the time when you turn these in, just because of the requirements of the essay and what you need to include, most students end up with 7 or 8 pages. Okay, so I know a lot of you are looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, 5 to 6 pages. Don't worry about it. Just write, and I guarantee you will get there. Okay, and that's not including your works cited page. That's of written work. Okay, you'll need to have at least 4 highly credible sources. If you want to do more research, you're more than welcome to, but you're only required to have 4 for this paper. Okay, and late essays dock 10% per day, that they're late, and after 7 days, I generally don't accept them. Okay, and I also have some tips down here. I won't take you through these today just because I know I'm already taking up a lot of your time. But again, one thing I do want to point out is quotes and the Q&A session for when you're doing your interview. Okay, you are going to be expected to use a variety of citing methods, whether that be paraphrasing, summarizing, or quoting. And I always like to tell my students that you should reserve quoting for when you feel like the author just said it so good that you cannot say it any better. Okay. Does anyone know why I would prefer you to use paraphrasing or summarizing versus quoting? Why would I prefer that? Even Ellie or Harrison, why do you think that I would prefer summarizing, paraphrasing over quoting? Do you guys know why I would prefer that?
Well, the point is to hear your guys' voices. The point is that you are the writer of this research. And so the reader is looking to you to direct them through this research. It's not the other author's jobs, it's your job. And yeah, I think.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. When you use too many quotes, those are not your words. That is not your voice. You get lost in your writing. We no longer hear you when you're constantly just using other people's quotes, right? That's the way that they would say it. I want to know how you would say it, right? I want to hear from you. Okay. So summarizing and paraphrasing keeps that voice. Okay. Does that mean that you cannot quote? Absolutely not. You can totally quote. I just don't want it to be the only thing that you do.
It also helps with flow a lot, I would say. I think one good thing to always be thinking about is how the reader is going to be reading your work and what little things might sort of distract them or throw them off. And anything that breaks up sort of the natural flow of them reading can be more distracting than if they're just reading what feels like a sentence. Like if you were talking to someone, it would feel like a natural sentence. And often quotes can be, sometimes they're kind of bulky and sometimes they're not worded the same as your own wording. So they just feel like a bit of a distraction.
Yeah,
Totally. It's a completely different voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Another reason why I always appreciate summarizing and paraphrasing is because summarizing and paraphrasing shows understanding. It tells me that you understand what you've read. If I just see quotes, 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 I'm going to start thinking like, is this person quoting because they don't know what this person is actually saying? So they're just hoping to throw it in there and hoping that I'll understand it. Okay, so that's that's kind of a red flag for me as well. Like summarizing and paraphrasing show understanding. They tell me that you understand what you've read. Okay, and being able to summarize and paraphrasing helps you, again, better understand what you're reading. Okay, so definitely if you can, try to do paraphrasing and summarizing more than you do quoting. Okay, and I always try to say stay away from long quotes, block quoting formats. Again, that really takes away your voice because that means you're taking a lot of that person's information. And usually when I see block quotes, those can easily be summarized or paraphrased. Okay, so I would say try to stay away from those things. Especially when you're doing your interview, don't write like, I asked this person this question and they answered this. I asked this question and they answered this. Instead, take me through the interview. I asked this question, she answered by saying these things, which led to this discussion. I'm going to give you resources on how to make this more natural into your writing instead of QA, QA, QA. Okay, I don't want to see that. I want to see it written out as a story. Okay. Any questions about Unit 1? Topics, the essay, the different parts, anything like that?
This might be a little bit of a dumb question, but
no dumb questions.
I'm just kind of diving in, and I'm curious about if we start on a topic, because I'm actually just doing this today. If we start on a topic and feel like we want to change it a little bit or go in a different direction, is that a problem, like between submitting the topic proposal and the initial draft?
Not at all. If you end up changing your topic and it's a lot different than what you originally proposed, just send me a quick email, let me know, give me a heads up. That way I can just make sure that it's appropriate. I'm sure it will be, but just do it anyways. But I'm not expecting your topics to be the exact same from your topic proposal to what you end up with on your finished draft. I'm expecting these topics to evolve as you conduct research, right? So you might have proposed a topic to me, and as you conduct your research, you quickly find out like, oh my gosh, like this is way too broad. Like this is really overwhelming. I need to adjust. Make that adjustment.
Great.
You don't need my permission to make that adjustment. Okay, if you can end up zeroing in on a specific aspect of that topic and make the whole paper about just that specific aspect if you wanted to, right? And you'll see that throughout the assignments. I tell you, like, this is not 100% your topic. Feel free to make adjustments as you go, right? They do not have to align completely with the topic 1 proposal. That's a good question.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? If you are having trouble, again, finding or even determining whether your topic is too broad or too narrow, again, a good person, I will try to help you with this, but again, I'm just one person. I don't know every single person's topic. I try to do research on everybody's topic and give suggestions based off of that. But an even better person to ask about narrowing or broadening your topic is the librarian. They have a really good idea of whether the question that you're asking is going to bring up too much information or too little. And they can help you adjust your topic as well. Okay, again, I can help with that as well, but a librarian is even better because they are, again, research experts. They do this every day. And they can even give you ideas on potential things to research.
And sorry, I'm jumping in here. I don't know if you have it listed on your syllabus or anywhere. I didn't see it or didn't catch it, but librarians do have the option that you can like meet up with them like you would a tutor, and you can have a conversation with them online as well.
Yep. We might get kicked off here. We're almost at the 40-minute limit. Does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. If you guys do think of any questions, just send me an email or you can reach out to Harrison or Ellie. We are here to help in any way.
Thanks so much.
No problem. Have a great
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Thank
You
you.
as well.
Night.
All right, have a good night.